All right, so in this lesson, we are going to talk about decimals once again, but this time we're going to talk about all of the decimal operations, so addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division, and we're going to talk about them in the form of word problems. So what's important is that we first tackle how do I know which operation to use in a word problem, and then we'll tackle am I solving this correctly. So let's go ahead and get started. First off, how do I know if it's an addition word problem? So there are many different ways to know if it's an addition word problem, but I'm going to try to give you the most popular ways. So you're going to look for the word altogether or the word total. You may see variations of this. So for example, you might see the word in all instead of altogether. And again, there's a couple of other big keywords, but I'm trying to give you the most popular ones. Some examples that you might see. How much did they eat altogether? What is the total cost? These are things that are going to signal to you that this may be an addition problem. Okay? Next, how do I know if it's a subtraction word problem? Okay? Again, look for the word left, look for the word less. What do I mean by that? For example, how much is left? What is the missing amount? Okay? Those are two types of questions that you may encounter using those words. Something else that you may encounter is the phrase, how much more? So for example, how much more sugar was used than oil? This would also signify a subtraction problem. And again, you may see this used in a different format. So how much was left? And again, we're using this word left and how much, okay? Now, how do I know if it's a multiplication problem? So I'm actually going to start with the second one for this one, and then I'll move back up to the first one. So first, look for the word product or the word times. You should know by now that product means the answer to a multiplication problem, so that should be a big signal for you. All right, but times also means multiplication. So for example, 2 times 2 means that you multiply 2 and 2. So how many times more does Sam weigh? Determine the product of the two amounts. Those are questions that may signal to you that this is a multiplication problem. The other way that you may be that it may indicate to you that it's a multiplication word problem is if it's repeated addition. What do I mean by this? Well, for example, how much would it be if Janie bought 15 pairs of jeans at $29.99 a pair? Well, you could take $29.99 and add that together 15 times and get the answer. But it would be much more efficient to do $29.99 times 15. Now, you will get the same answer either way, but this repeated addition, and repeated means doing something over and over and over and over and over again, makes it more efficient, okay, by using multiplication. Last but not least, how do you know if it's a division problem? Well, is the problem asking you to split something into groups? Dividing 5.25 gallons of water among 3 people. 13.25 pizzas shared by a party of 12. Those are things that indicate splitting into groups. Sharing something, dividing something. We're splitting something up among people or among items, okay? Another way that you know it's division is if they're asking you how much can be made out of something. So I have this many yards of fabric and I want to make this many dresses, which is actually one of the examples here, but we'll get to that in a second. So 9.1 pounds of fruit made into 7 salads. So how many salads can be made out of this much fruit? I'm dividing. How many dresses can be made from 2.75 yards of fabric? So how much can be made from this? You're dividing it up. Okay? Now, let's use those rules to apply them to word problems, okay? Now, with dividing specifically, and this is only specific to dividing, sometimes it's hard to know which number goes first. So this is just a friendly sort of tip. The number that goes first in terms of, in terms of your problem here, so like 68.5 divided by 2, how do I know which number goes first when they're both jumbled into a word problem? The number that goes first is the number that you're chopping into parts. Okay, so it's the number that you're actually dividing up. So how do you share 68.5 gigabytes of RAM with a family of 4 people? Well, what here are you chopping up? Are you chopping the people or are you chopping the gigabytes? Well, you're chopping the gigabytes because that's what you're looking to share. So in this case, it's going to be 68.5 divided by 4. Okay? So as we read these problems, we're going to read it once. We are going to highlight the question in one color. We're going to highlight the words that tell us the operation. And if it helps us, we're going to draw a picture. If it doesn't help us, no need for a picture. Okay, so step 4 is kind of optional, but step 1, 2, and 3 is definitely mandatory. All right, so let's get started. So Billy runs daily as part of her exercise routine. She ran 8.3 miles on Monday, 5.1 miles on Tuesday, and 4.25 miles on Wednesday. How many miles did she run in all this week? So I read the word problem. Now I need to highlight the question. The question is, how many miles did she run in all this week? The next thing I need to do is highlight the keyword that tells me the operation. And this one should be pretty bold, in all. That's going to tell me addition. So I'm going to go ahead and add up my decimals here because she ran 8.3 miles on Monday, 5.1 miles on Tuesday, 4.25 miles on Wednesday, and it wants to know how much she ran in all. So 8.3 plus 5.1, I'm going to do that first. Bring down my decimal. And then I'm going to do 13.4 plus 4.25. I'm going to add my zeros as placeholders. So she ran 17 and 65 hundredths miles. All right, next question. Tom bought a DVD for $12.24 and some snacks for $8.62. If he started with $84.50, how much does he have left? So I read my problem once. I'm going to highlight my question. How much does he have left? The second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight my keyword that's going to help me out with my operation. And this right here, have left, is going to tell me subtraction. Okay? So there's a couple ways that you can solve this problem. It's telling me that Tom started with 84.50 and then he spent this amount right here and this amount right here, and it wants to know how much he had left. So you can solve this problem a couple different ways. You could add up these two numbers and then subtract it from 84.50, or you can take 84.50 and subtract each number. That's the way I'm going to do it, but either way you should end up with the same answer. So I finished subtracting 1224. Now I'm going to take that remaining amount, so I'm going to cross that out, and I'm going to subtract the 862 that he spent on snacks. Add my 0 as a placeholder. You have to be very careful on some of these problems where you have a lot of borrowing. So Tom is left with $63.64. $63.64. All right, next problem. The monthly rental for an apartment is $412.50. How much would Terrence have to pay if he lives there for 8 months? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight my question. How much would Terrence have to pay if he lives there for 8 months? Now, where is my keyword that's going to indicate to me my operation? Well, I'm going to highlight if he lives there for 8 months because that tells me repeated addition. That tells me that I need to take this amount and do it 8 times for the 8 months. Now, I could do $412.50 plus $412.50 plus $412.50, and I could do that 8 times. But repeated addition is multiplication. So I'm going to do $412.50 times 8 for the 8 months. 8 times 0 is 0. 8 times 5 is 40, so carry the 4. Put the 0 here. Ignore the decimal when we multiply. 8 times 2 is 16, plus 4 is 20. 8 times 1 is 8, plus 2 is 10. Got a lot of zeros here. 8 times 4 is 32, plus 1 is 33. Now, we have 2 spots after the decimal, so we're going to go 1 and 2. So Terrence is going to pay $3,300.00 for his apartment for 8 months. Next question. Strawberries are on sale for $2.30 per pound. How much did Leah spend if she bought 3.5 pounds of strawberries? So, I'm going to highlight my question. Oops, let's try that again. So my question is, how much did Leah spend if she bought 3.5 pounds of strawberries? Now, this again, I'm going to highlight if she bought 3.5 pounds of strawberries. And the reason why I'm highlighting that again is because that is again telling me repeated addition. Because she spent $2.30 per pound, but she didn't buy 1 pound, she didn't buy 2 pounds, she didn't buy 3 pounds, she bought 3.5 pounds. So I could sit there and add and add and add and add and add, but I could also just multiply, okay? So 2.30 times 3.5, 5 times 0 is 0, 5 times 3 is 15, 5 times 2 is 10, plus 1 is 11. Add my 0 as a placeholder. 3 times 0 is 0. 3 times 3 is 9. 3 times 2 is 6. And I forgot to cross that out. Now I'm going to add these up. 0, 5, 9 plus 1 is 10. 6, 7, 8. Now I have 1, 2, 3 numbers after the decimal. So 1, 2, 3. And when you have that 0 at the end, you can just drop it if you want, or you can leave it. It's up to you. So how much did Leah spend if she bought? Oh no, you can't leave that 0 because we're talking about money actually. I'm sorry, I thought we were talking about pounds here. So Leah spent $8.05. So again, At first, I thought we were talking about pounds, and I needed to go back and read the question. So you cannot leave that 0 because we're talking about money, and we always round to the hundredth spot. Okay, next question. Jan bought 4 pounds of candy for $12.25. What is the average cost per pound to the nearest cent? So I'm going to highlight my question. What is the average cost per pound to the nearest cent? I'm going to read my hint in just a second. And what is my operation? Well, this word right here, average cost, is a very common word when talking about division, okay? But also, it says per pound, okay? And up here, it's talking about 4 pounds of candy for $12.25. But now it wants per pound. So that means I'm splitting something into groups. In this case, I'm splitting something into pounds. Okay? So this is going to be division. Now, I want to read this hint. To the nearest cent means to round to the nearest hundredth because money ends in 2 decimal points. So what that tells me is that when I divide, I may end up with more than 2 decimal points, but I'm going to need to round, okay? So remember, the number that we're chopping up is the number that always goes first. So this is the number that I'm chopping up, okay, 12.25, because I want to find out how much money it is per pound, divided by 4. I pop my decimal to the roof. 4 goes into 1 0 times. 0 times 4 is 0. Subtract 1, bring down the 2. 4 goes into 12 3 times. 3 times 4 is 12. 0, bring down the 2. 4 goes into 2 0 times. Subtract 2, bring down the 5. 4 goes into 25 6 times. 6 times 4 is 24. Subtract 1, add a 0. 4 goes into 10 2 times. 2 times 4 is 8. Subtract 2. I think we're coming to an end here. Add a 0. And 4 goes into 20 5 times. And that goes in perfect. Now, I want to know, though, to the nearest cent. So what I got from this was 3.0625. If I round to the nearest cent, that's to the hundredth. Locate my number, look to the left. That's a 2, so my 6 is going to stay, cross everything out. So my answer is $3.06. Next one. If Miss Eckerson needs 29 pencils and they come in packs of 5, how many packs should she buy? Remember, you can't buy half a pack of something. So let's highlight my question. How many packs should she buy? Oops, I wanted to do that in yellow. Let's try that again. How many packs should she buy? And then what's going to help me find my operation? Well, she needs 25 pencils. They come in packs of 5. That tells me I'm going to be dividing something because I need to know how many packs of something that I need. Okay? So let's divide. 29 divided by 5. 5 goes into 2 0 times. 0 times 5 is 0. Subtract. Bring down the 9. 5 goes into 29 5 times. 5 times 5 is 25. Subtract, you get 4. Add a decimal, pop it to the roof, add a 0, bring it down. 5 goes into 40 8 times. 8 times 5 is 40. Subtract, and you end up with 0. Now, it says that Miss Segerson needs 5.8 packs, but you cannot go to the store and buy 5.8 packs of something. So she is going to need 6 packs. But here's the thing. Some people are going to think, well, Miss Oates says that she needs 6 packs because this 0.8 rounds up to 6. But that's just not the case. If this number ended up being 5.1, I would still say that 6 packs is the answer. And that's because you still need that 0.1 of a pack. You can't come back and tell that child, oh, well, I went to the store and I didn't get a pencil for you. So you're going to have to still buy that extra pack and just have extras left over. Okay, find the total cost of the following groceries. 3.89 for apples, 10.64 for steak, 1.05 for eggs, and 1.99 for a loaf of bread. So in this case, the question is in the form of a statement at the top. Find the total cost of the following groceries. And our key word here is going to be total, which is going to indicate addition. So we're going to add up the 3.89 for apples, the 10.64 for steak, the 1.05 for eggs, and the 1.99 for a loaf of bread. I'm going to add my 0 as a placeholder here. So I got 14.53 by adding the apples and the steak. Now I'm going to add the eggs. I'm going to add a 0 as a placeholder. So now I just added the eggs. I have 15.58. I'm going to add my 0 as a placeholder. Now I'm adding the loaf of bread. All right, so the cost of all of these groceries is $17.57. Okay, Dylan finished the 220-yard dash in 36.4 seconds. Antonian finished the 220-yard dash in 33.9 seconds. Who ran faster and by how much? So this is one of the reasons why one of the steps in the annotating process is to have you answer or to have you highlight the question. Because in this case, there are 2 questions. And sometimes that will be the case. And you need to make sure that you're actually answering both questions. So the first question is, who ran faster? And the second question is, by how much? That how much is telling me subtraction. So first I'm going to subtract my 2 numbers. 36.4 minus 33.9. I'm going to borrow. And so I have 2.5 seconds faster, but who ran faster? Well, when I compare these 2 decimals, which one is the least? And the least is going to be the 33.9, which belongs to Antonian. So one of my answers is Antonian. And he ran faster by 2.5 seconds. Mr. Adams drives a school bus 5 times per week. If each trip is 35.8 miles, how many miles does Mr. Adams drive in all? So first thing I'm going to do is highlight my question. How many miles does Mr. Adams drive in all? Now, the second thing I'm going to do is highlight my keyword, and the keyword should jump out right to you automatically, in all. And if you look at your paper, in all is going to signify addition to you. Now, you can absolutely do addition for this problem. Not an issue at all, because it would be 35.8 5 times per week. 35.8 plus 35.8 plus 35.8 plus 35.8, so on and so forth. However, this word, times, also tells you that you can use multiplication. And the fact that it says 5 times also tells you that it's repeated addition. So I would use multiplication for this. 35.8 times 5. 8 times 5 is 40. 5 times 5 is 25. Plus 4 is 29. 5 times 3 is 15. Plus 2 is 17. You have one number after the decimal. So you're going to go over 1. That just leaves a 0 at the end, and you can take it off. So Mr. Adams drove 179 miles that week. Okay. Next question. Alexis bought 8 notebooks that each cost $1.49. How much did she spend in all? So highlight the question. How much did she spend in all? And your keyword, in all. Now, again, I have an issue here. I have 8 notebooks. So I could do addition because, again, I see my keyword in all, so addition will work. I can do $1.49 plus $1.49 plus $1.49 plus $1.49, so on and so forth, and I can do it 8 times. Or I can do $1.49 times 8 because all of this right here is repeated addition. So 8 times 9 is 72. 8 times 4 is 32 plus 7 is 39. 8 times 1 is 8 plus 3 is 11. Now I have 2 numbers after the decimal. So I'm going to go over 1 and 2. So Alexis spent $11.92. Next question. Okay, Corey bought 5 packs of gum for $9.79. How much did each pack of gum cost? Round to the nearest cent. And here's our hint again. Remember that the nearest cent means to the nearest hundredth. So we're going to highlight the question. How much, I want to do yellow. How much did each pack of gum cost? So I see each pack of gum, which means we're breaking something down into groups. And again, I see 5 packs of gum for $9.79. So that is screaming to me some sort of division. So I have $9.79 divided by 5. I'm going to pop my decimal to the roof. 5 goes into 9 one time. 1 times 5 is 5. Subtract, I get 4. Bring down the 7. 5 goes into 47 9 times. 9 times 5 is 45. Subtract, I get 2. Bring down the 9. 5 goes into 29 5 times. 5 times 5 is 25. Subtract, I get 4. Add a 0, bring it down. 5 goes into 40 8 times perfectly. Now, it's reminding me to round to the nearest hundredth. So my answer up there is 1 and 958 thousandths. So I need to go to the hundredth, circle my number next door. That 8 tells me I need to make this 5 go up to a 6. So each pack is $1.96. Last question. Hot dog buns come in packs of 8. If you plan to make 68 hot dogs for a party, how many packs of buns should you buy? Remember, you can't buy half a pack, and you also can't buy a quarter of a pack, and you also can't buy an eighth of a pack. You have to buy a whole pack. So, first, what's my question? My question is, how many packs of buns should you buy? What are my key words here? Well, how many packs? That word packs is going to tell me that I'm dividing something up into groups, okay? So let's go ahead and figure this out. We have 68 divided by 8. 8 goes into 6, 0 times 8 is 0. Subtract 6, bring down the 8. 8 goes into 68, 8 times. 8 times 8 is 64. Subtract 4, add a decimal, pop it to the roof, add a 0, bring it down. 8 goes into 40, 5 times, evenly. So I get 8.5, but I can't buy half a pack. So I need to buy 9 packs. All right, those were a lot of word problems, but I hope that they were helpful, and we will do a lot more in class.